Speed, pace, momentum, velocity. Our world is increasingly fast and our culture is immediate. Everything moves quickly. Moving your money shouldn't be any different. With Gravity, you can buy and sell Bitcoin instantly. We're building the Bitcoin bank of the future today.
Hello and welcome to a very strange episode of CryptoTime. My name's James Coughlan and I'm joined with my usual co-host, Antonio Shillingford. How are you today, friend?
I'm doing rather fine. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, we are in some very strange circumstances. I'm sure everybody is well aware that we are very much in a lockdown situation right now. We at Bitstocks have had a situation where everybody has now had to go home. Luckily, that has enabled us to continue working at a very good capacity. Unlike some, obviously, industries that are out there, have become more difficult. I mean, how have you been finding things?
Funny enough, I've actually found it a lot more productive, and I've been speaking to a lot of the other people in the company as well, and everyone's really been excelling forwards. So I think everyone's taken this opportunity to sort of lock down, focus everyone's minds, and then really push for our goals.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the only thing that I really miss in terms of actually being in the office is just the social aspect of it, being able to integrate with everybody, seeing all the people that we normally see on a daily basis and being able to have the general chats that we have. It's a little bit more difficult using things like Slack. However, we've been making it work very well. So yeah, I've been extremely happy with it so far.
Yeah, good. You haven't driven yourself crazy yet then?
No, well, I haven't been able to drive anywhere or do anything to drive myself crazy, but having a little one around has been a little bit difficult, but there you go. Yeah. So without further ado, let's kick straight into this episode. It's going to be all about the virus and how it's been affecting the cryptocurrency market as a whole, and really what's been happening since that point. Is it something to be concerned about in relation to the crypto market, or should we feel comfortable with what's been going on? Just to kick us off, Antonio, I wanted to kind of raise a few points that have very much come up, in my mind in relation to all of this cryptocurrency drop off in terms of the price, and that is that cryptocurrencies is a very liquid asset. For the very first time, we have seen a correlation basically take place with general equities, normal markets, and cryptocurrencies. Now, the reason I believe that's happened is when these situations of turmoil transpire, you have to look for certain situations that's going to help you, gain access to capital. And one of the very quickest ways of gaining access to capital is using cryptocurrencies. And I think that has played a major part in the reasons why we've seen a big drop off in the prices. Very much the same, obviously, in the general equity market. When people have seen that things aren't going particularly well, they've decided that while this turmoil is happening, that it's a good time to take a deep breath and take a step back while this is happening. I think one thing which is very real that we can take from this is that when, for example, we have our Prime Minister Boris Johnson coming out with daily announcements saying that potentially people are going to be at home for 14 days in an incubation style setting, and not only that, but this could go on for 12 weeks as a whole. People as a nation, we're now starting to realize that the deproductivity, is going to actually end up going down while this has all been happening. And I'm sure you've got some opinions on that.
Yeah. So on the whole situation within itself, of course, end of the day, self-quarantine is the right route to go because it just slows down the virus in general from it just spreading from person to person.
Of course.
Everything that has been happening thus far, there's like loads of different areas because we've seen how hard the stock market's been impacted. We've seen how hard the crypto market's been impacted. So it's not just the fact that work production stops, it also impacts people in other financial areas, basically.
Yeah.
So in terms of the crypto market, of course, we've seen a lot of liquidity come out of the space. Mm-hmm. Just to pinpoint a slight pain area within the cryptocurrency space, there's not that many on and off fiat ramps.
Yep.
So of course, we have that structure as a company where we allow people to cash out of their cryptocurrencies directly into fiat currencies. Yeah. Not a lot of other companies have that ability. So a lot of these platforms that people are currently listed on, they're in a situation where they're stuck holding assets, even if they need to redeem it to go and buy whatever goods and services that they want to do on the outside. Mm-hmm. This is how I personally believe that the stock markets in general are going to get impacted in a large way, just because of course, the situation. Safe haven assets are normally the flock during this period in time, so people would tend to go and purchase gold. But the weird thing is that we're not really seeing that. And is it because people have really started to cotton on to the fact that during these times, yes, gold has historically been a safe haven, but I can't go and take a gold coin to the corner shop and purchase stuff that I need.
No, it's very true. And I think this is the point that people are really starting to realize, is that yes, gold has always reacted extremely well through situations of turmoil. However, I personally, and I know that you've seen the same, seen gold act far less aggressively to these certain situations than what we've seen in the past. And I think this is something that we need to monitor and that we need to obviously stay, abreast with, because at the end of the day, if situations are going to transpire where gold is not that safe haven anymore, people are going to be looking elsewhere for it. Now, I personally felt that cryptocurrencies before, a scenario like this happened was going to react far better throughout this situation. But I think really what's happened does make a lot of sense in terms of the fact that people are able to actually liquidate out. They are able to gain access to that capital. And in times where, you're not sure whether you're going to be able to go and purchase your bread, eggs, milk and water from down the local shop because somebody's gone and ransacked it and bought so much more before you, it is a time where you need to be able to have that access to capital. And I think knowing that gold, just as you mentioned, isn't going to provide that flight to safety that, people once perceived it to be. And I think that is a bit of a shame, but at the same time, it does leave a huge window of opportunity for things like cryptocurrencies such as BSV, because they really do give you the opportunity to be able to have that opportunity to go back to cash if you want to be able to use it across all of these applications that have been built, and also many, many other things that are out there.
Yeah, and of course, during these times as well, we've been seeing the banks have been trying to do as much as they possibly can to reassure people, even putting messages inside their applications. But in these times, it's pretty much a plaster on a bullet wound, because of course, one of the things that majority of people are actually fearful, and this is why gold rallies in these situations, is the fact that do we trust the banks with our hard-earned cash? Because if they were to go bust, then what situation does that leave us in? Is it our fault that they were over leveraged on their positions, that they hyperinflated the currencies that they currently have in stock, being the fractional reserve system? No. So it has a huge impact on their stability. So a lot of people have just lost confidence in that system now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how banks handle this moving forwards. And again, this is why Bitcoin does really make sense. Well, the true iteration of Bitcoin being BSV.
Yeah. I think, one thing just to add on to what you're saying there is let's talk about 2008. Let's talk about the recession. When we last had a recession in the UK, obviously it was fairly severe. People definitely felt the pinch throughout that period. But one thing to be clear on, while obviously this was all happening, is that we had much higher base rate at the time. We had much higher interest rates, which meant that when we actually wanted to get the public spending again and start actually building money back into the economy again, we were able to actually cut interest rates to a low point where people could then use borrowed money cheaper than what they could previously to go out and actually encourage spending. How do you actually encourage people to go out there and start spending again if interest rates are as low as what they are right now? We've got situations where we've got base rates in negative points, in some places in the world. Things are not looking good whatsoever. And I think that this really has tipped us into what we have felt is being, very much on the cards for a long time now.
Yeah, and just to mention a bit of a bombshell as well. So we've just had pretty much Trump take over the Federal Reserve, which is huge. And we're going to see a lot of knock-on effects come from that. I won't go into too much detail on it because, of course, we do a lot of presentations and we have got a lot of content on our YouTube about these particular topics.
Yep.
But there's going to be huge impacts from that actually happening in the first place, and they are going to be for the positive. And if we just look at this situation in general, now let's go back a year. Driving my car, potholes everywhere. We're paying, of course, our taxes. the money that we need to pay, and nothing's getting fixed. So the situation with the roads, the fact that you have street lights out, there's loads of things that are actually wrong. So a lot of the money that we're giving to the government, we don't really feel like is going to where it should do. And I know you'll agree with me, potholes are probably one of the biggest banes in our life at the moment.
I think it's more one of your problems than mine. I avoid them quite nicely and don't have the low profile tyres.
But now what we've got is our government banding together, being, of course, the UK government, the American government, and actually giving proper aid to the people. And for me, this is probably one of the first times I've ever seen this, such a positive outcome from such a positive output from our governments.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think that, to be honest with you, that covers, what's been happening in relation to the virus and everything quite nicely. One thing that I don't want to be the guy of doom and gloom, but I think that, it's a very fair assumption to say that for cryptocurrency advocates, especially people that are involved in BTC, BSV, and also BCH, this isn't over by any means in terms of the price action. I think that things are going to get, very turbulent, in the upcoming weeks with the halvening coming up. I don't know if you want to just spell a bit more information on that, Antonio.
Yeah, so we've got the halvening coming up. I believe it's BCH first, then it's BSV, and then last but not least, it's BTC. Yeah. Now, we have actually done quite an extensive podcast on our predictions of what the halvening is going to detail. Mm-hmm. But quite simply, it is going to have quite a large impact on the cryptocurrency space. At the beginning, it will seem like it's negative, but of course, clarity will come out of that chaos. And we're going to see the hashing power reshuffle, because this price action that we've seen recently with coronavirus and the fact that we've lost a lot of value of these cryptocurrency assets, that puts an even tighter squeeze on these miners. And now we're about to go through the halvening process, which is about to put an even tighter squeeze on these miners. And we knew that pretty much a couple of months ago, before all of this started happening, they were pretty much at break even.
Yep.
So we're about to see how efficient some miners can get, and how creative with their ideas they can get.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the thing that's going to be super exciting about this is there is going to be, a period of time in which Bitcoin is going to be more profitable to mine than obviously what BSV is at the moment. So I think that's going to be obviously exciting to see. But at the same point is we know we haven't got that transaction volume going through BTC that we need to see to obviously ensure that people are not just worried about block reward, but also picking up those transaction rewards as well. So I think times are going to get extremely interesting. Yeah, so I think this is a good opportunity to let everybody know that, the Bitstocks team is here. We're working hard to ensure that we are staying ahead of the curve of what's been happening. We hope everybody out there is staying safe and listening to the government guidelines. We very much advocate as well. And really, it's going to be a case of us just staying up to date with what's been going on, tipping up information with CryptoTime on a weekly basis, ensuring that this format works. And obviously you as viewers obviously are enjoying what you're seeing. So as always, guys, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for watching. If you are enjoying the content that we are putting out from CryptoTime and Bitstocks Media, please hit that like, subscribe, and notification button so you can always see the latest and greatest coming from us. So that's all for now. Bye for now.
Peace and love.